Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
I went in at like noon to see this fucking movie.
Uh-huh.
Got home at 3:30.
Yeah.
Jesus fuck.
Yeah, it's 2.5 hours long, Dave.
It's more than that. It's like 2 hours 40. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched House of Gucci.
Yeah! It's like House of Wax. Except people are getting, instead of wax, people are getting covered in expensive leather goods.
It was a name that sounded so sweet, so seductive. Synonymous with worth, style, power. But that name was a curse too.
You mean Jared Leto's prosthetics?
Jared Leto's prosthetics, yes. They're getting covered in Jared Leto's fine velvet corduroy suits and all of his prosthetics.
Okay, let's start there.
To play a man who doesn't look like that.
Yes. Okay, so I was reading an interview with Tom Ford, the real Tom Ford.
Sure.
The designer in this. He's near the end of the movie.
Yeah, he's actually played by Reeve Carney in the film, who is Art Carney's nephew, I think.
Okay.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
And boy, Tom Ford seems very confused.
By this movie? Yeah.
Yeah, because he's just like, what the fuck is this? Because like, he's talking about Jared Leto, and I found the quote was like, he did eccentric, and he was eccentric and did some wacky things, but his overall demeanor was certainly not like the crazed and seemingly mentally challenged character of Leto's performance. That's what he wrote about it. Because yeah, I can't figure out why they did that.
I don't know. I feel like Jared Leto. Okay, I feel like this movie has a firm melodramatic tone. Like, this is melodrama.
Yes.
And then
sorry. Go on.
And then so they have that tone where everybody is larger than life, but not cartoonishly so.
Yes.
And then Jared Leto walks into the film playing a cartoonish Italian buffoon. Like, he is playing Waluigi.
He's an Italian face.
He's an Italian. He literally speaks like, but you don't like my ideas. Like, that is literally what he sounds like.
So Tom Ford, again, this review that he gave was like also judged as a movie. And he kind of pointed out, like, he felt like he actually felt that way about a lot of the characters. I think just because he personally knew them.
He personally knew them, sure.
Yeah, he compares it to watching a SNL version of it. But he was saying, like, it really felt like a lot of the scenes were there so the actors got to act. Because there's all these big actors. And, like, that is what it feels like.
Yeah.
It feels like they all get their turn at getting an award in this movie. That's the impression I get. Like, it's 3 hours, nearly 3 hours, and I feel like, all right, either do a mini-series or cut it down.
Yeah, this feels like it would have been, I mentioned a second ago, the tone is melodrama. This feels like it should have been like a Ryan Murphy show, right?
Yeah,
this should have been a season of American Crime Story, and it probably would have been better, I think, as a season of American Crime Story.
Yeah. Did you like this movie?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, I didn't mind it.
I thought it was perfectly entertaining melodrama. I mean, as the real life Tom Ford has been saying, I'm aware that it's not factually airtight and that it's taking creative liberties with these people, which is, I mean, that's what every biopic does. That's fine. But like,
okay.
In my opinion, nobody I mean, everybody's fine in this movie. Outside of Jared Leto, nobody's getting an Oscar for this. Like, this is not.
They better not.
This is not good acting. This is just.
But I think they think that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. You're right that all biopics, like one of the things Tom Ford complains about in this is he's like, oh, I never met him before he died or whatever. Like, it was.
I'm sure he didn't meet Maurizio Gucci personally.
Yeah.
No.
And it's like, yeah, but they're making a movie.
Yeah, they're making a movie. They want to consolidate things and simplify things. So it's like...
I understand that.
Yeah, sure.
But I think there's a difference between changing some stuff in a biopic and being, like, grotesque about it. And, like, I would say this is borderline disrespectful at times.
Certainly
mainly because of the
Jared
idea
Leto's
of, like,
portrayal of Paolo Gucci. Certainly
like that was a man who didn't look like that.
Like, he looks...
Like, you look at pictures of him, he combs his hair.
Like, he looks kind of like that, but, like, not... Like, this is the Busch Gardens caricature version of the real guy. Like, it's...
Yeah.
And the fact that, my God, what does he do? Like, he's in a different movie. He's not in the same movie as... He's doing all of his scenes with Al Pacino, and to Al Pacino's face, he's going like, they don't like my ideas! Like, it is fucking... It's bonkers.
I like to hope in between takes, he'd be like, we're really doing this, Al, and I would be like, don't touch me. Like, don't come near me.
Like, Al Pacino, conversely, is being relatively understated when he could. Yeah. You would go into a movie like this where it's House of Gucci. It's this big, splashy, melodramatic biopic about the intrigue into the lives of the wealthy. And, Jared Leto is doing this big fucking, the hugest performance I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. Of a character who ultimately dies in poverty.
Yeah.
Like,
he is a tragic character.
Right, he's not a bad guy.
No,
like, that's the thing. He's not the villain of this movie.
No, his narrative function is he's the fool. Like, so it's like...
Yes.
He's a very Shakespearean fool, like a very tragic character, and he's Fredo, basically. He's Fredo from The Godfather. So you would expect Al Pacino to go like Scent of a Woman when that kind of performance is in this movie, but he doesn't. He's like really understated. He's, being Pacino.
Yeah, it's like Jared Leto sucked the energy out of Al Pacino.
Right, like Jared Leto.
And he harnessed it.
Right. It's like he came in thinking, because most of his scenes are with Pacino. So it's like he came in expecting Scent of a Woman Pacino. So he's like, I got to go toe for toe with Pacino. And so it ends up like he's doing this huge cartoon character, and Pacino's playing like a real guy.
Yeah,
like
it fundamentally hijacks the film that this character, and I checked, this actor who is not from Italy and doesn't have any Italian roots.
Leto,
no, and like as the internet pointed out many times, like there were actors who looked like this that exist. Like, you could just get a guy who's bald. And so, like, there's something about it that feels like a parody. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That feels like something that we'd see in, like, 30 Rock, where you take this, like, hot young actor that no one really likes. That's the thing, is, like, he's not that popular. Like, people are kind of sick of him. And I think he has like allegations against him.
He has like a sex cult. He's got like a weird I'm speaking a little off the cuff on that. So please,
same here. But I know
look it up yourself, please, before you say anything. But like, it's something like that.
Yes, and so they taking him and like he's not Daniel Day-Lewis, Like
it really
so
is the Tropic
weird.
Thunder joke.
It is.
It
feels
why
like the
are
Tropic
you doing
Thunder
this?
joke. And it's so distracting from the rest of the movie at times because I just don't understand why they did it. Like, is Ridley Scott just like, I got to get those millennials in? What do millennials like? Jared Leto. Like, is it just that he was, or is it because they looked at this and they're like, we need a reason for people to see this. So let's do this? Like,
well, I mean, the reason...
Because it certainly has people talking, I just don't think it's for the right reasons.
Yeah, and it's like not even like on paper. There's a couple of big reasons to get people to see that. First of all, it's about Gucci, which is a big popular brand with people of kind of all age groups.
Yeah.
Plus, you got Lady Gaga in the lead role.
Yeah.
And it's kind of this like rich people intrigue, like Succession is a huge show right now. So it's like it's the subject matter is something that's hot right now. So like there's enough working in this movie's favor that makes Leto as a literal clown in this film stand out all the more. It's so his performance is confounding.
It is. It is very like I don't know why nobody stopped it.
I don't know.
Happening.
I guess because
it's also wildly disrespectful again to a real character who died in poverty and is now being depicted like this.
Mm-hmm. As a buffoon.
And fuck.
And he probably, he may have well been a buffoon, but it's like
he might have been an asshole for all I know.
Sure.
That's the thing is that like I would have rather seen a version of the character that like actually explained who they were. Because for this, it's like I got no read off of who this person actually was.
Well, there's enough that he desperately wants approval. Like that, there's enough there that you get his motivation for why he does things. But he's, I guess it's.
In terms of who the real person.
Oh, who the real guy is.
Yeah,
sure.
like that's what I mean. Is that I don't like I'm defending this person who I don't know, who could be terrible, but it's not because it's not because I think he's good. It's because like I would never want myself to be played in a movie like this. You know what I mean? Like
I think
terrible, even if the real version is he's more of a monster and like he actually was a real asshole. I'd rather see a nuanced version of a real person than like a weird caricature.
Yeah. There's two things there that are working against that. One is, just the nature of biopics and movies that are based on true stories. Often they're going to distill real life people who are extremely complicated into movie characters who aren't that complicated. So unless you're the main character, you're going to get one or two defining traits. And that's pretty much what's going on here. But you have the additional level because this is not only a biopic, it's a melodrama.
Yeah.
Where everything is kind of exaggerated to soap opera degrees. So it's like we have his defining characteristics, which is that he's desperately seeking approval and he's a fool. That's all you need to know about this character. Every scene,
right?
Jared Leto doing Waluigi notwithstanding, every scene he's in just reinforces those two things. But when you have it exaggerated to a soap opera degree...
and then played by like this handsome young actor,
fucking Martian who's doing a clown show. My God, like that's all we've talked about. What are we? 15 minutes into the show? That's all we've talked about is his performance.
Because it needed to be talked about. Because I think it's the reason they're trying to draw people in. So I want to make a recommendation right away.
Sure.
Because and this will move us off of it a little bit. I liked this movie, but I would tell people don't see it. Not in theaters. Wait until it's on streaming or something. Because I do think this movie... I got the feeling that this movie thought it was something more amazing than it was. Because I enjoyed it. Like, it's a fun movie.
It's very entertaining, yeah.
Yeah, it's not profound.
No.
It's certainly not... For me, it was like, it's Sunday afternoon. I have to drive to this theater that was ice cold and sit for 3 hours. And it's like, just make a fucking miniseries. Like, that's... Like, this isn't an epic. Like, it's just... it's like you said, it's a melodrama. It's entertaining. People are doing a good job. But
it's not an acting tour de force.
No, it's not.
They're doing good jobs, but nobody's... Like I said up top, nobody's doing mind-blowing Oscar-worthy performances in this film.
Yeah.
It's also... I think it's... my biggest problem with it is it's a little too long. And
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and not just in the sense like, well, this would have been better suited as a miniseries, even though we both agree that it feels like that's what it should have been. Like, this should have been a Ryan Murphy production.
It's more of this. It's pick a lane. If you're going to make something that's 3 hours, make it 4 hours and make it a miniseries. Or make it 2 goddamn hours because it's just not interesting enough.
Right.
Like the drama in it, I didn't really need a lot of it.
Well, that's what I was getting to is that a lot of the scenes that they do in this film, beyond what you quoted Tom Ford, the real Tom Ford, is saying, where it's like a lot of these scenes feel like they just exist so the actors get to do a thing.
Right.
Most of the scenes in this movie don't give us new information.
No,
so it's
they don't.
like the conflict is identified pretty early, and then we have like an hour and a half of just reinforcing that, and it's like, okay, we're not. We can move along a little bit quicker here. Like we get it.
Really could.
We understand what the conflicts are. All the players are in place. We're just like doing more and more scenes that just continue to reinforce this idea. It's like, okay, we could cut some of this out. We could like montage some of this.
They could absolutely cut a lot of things out.
Yeah. So
that's the thing. It's treated like it's fucking Lord of the Rings, where there's all this lore that has to be in and these moments, and it's like, not really. Yeah, like okay, their marriage is falling apart. You don't need like 3 scenes to show that. You know what I mean? Where
right, like it should have gotten.
It's like, oh, it's Christmas and he bought her a gift card. It's like they already fought so much that he like slammed her against a wall. You could hard cut to divorce after that scene.
Mm-hmm. Like
stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, just get to it.
Yeah, or get to their separation quicker at the very least, because a lot of that middle stuff was really just, I don't know. It's trying to show how Patrizia Reggiani, I think is her name, the Lady Gaga's character, how she kind of manipulates her way into the family and kind of starts blowing his life up, basically, like turning the family members against each other, cutting Al Pacino and everybody else out.
Right, they do this thing, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, because they do make it seem like she single-handedly tore apart the Gucci family.
Sure.
But I would actually also I feel like for a movie that's this long, it's not nearly as nuanced as it should be. I guess it kind of is, because you do get the impression that the family itself is a problem before she gets there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just more of like the fuse.
Yeah.
And then in the end, it's Adam Driver. He did all those things, that she tells him to do, and he becomes a bastard. There's the theme of the movie, it feels like to me, is that it's when a family becomes a corporation, basically, that transition of like, it's all in the family. People are telling yes, there's problems, but they're family problems. And then this outsider shows up and starts slowly like splitting it up. And then Adam Driver's character like becomes so cold-hearted that he not only pushes out all the family, but then he gets pushed out by like strangers to the company.
Yeah.
Right? So it all happens to him as well. And then he gets shot. Spoilers.
Yeah, he sure does get murdered.
He gets shot a bunch of times. He gets shot like Adam Driver would. Yeah. Like he handles it in a very Adam Driver way. He is extremely Adam Driver in this movie.
Oh yeah, he's probably the most Adam Driver he's ever been in this film.
Yeah. And so it's not like, look at this lady tearing the family apart. Exactly. But it ends on the idea that like on the thing they say at the end, which is that there hasn't been an actual Gucci in that company ever since. And it's almost about like this move from a family company to a cold-hearted corporation.
Yeah.
And the corporation does great. It does great without them.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know what the full message there is.
I don't know if there is necessarily a message, but it does. I mean, I think you've hit on as much of a theme as it has, where it's like, to a degree, you can see it in the way they mistreat Paolo, Jared Leto, where they don't take him seriously. Right. They give him, like, Pacino gives him a little bit of shares in the company just to keep him afloat or whatever, and he ends up selling those shares because he's a fool. But it's like, if they had taken better care of him, because he's family, if they had actually honored the familial commitment to him, maybe that wouldn't happen. And, right. That's like a microcosm of the bigger issue of course, where they all end up blowing each other up and basically selling the company out to outsiders because they choose the company and the brand over the actual family. And I think that's as much of a theme as it gets.
Yeah, and it's more like it doesn't need to be any more than that. It's not a judgment. That's
it's not.
Part of
that's
what
true.
I liked
it's
about
not.
the movie.
Yeah.
Is that it's not presenting the Gucci family as good or the corporation that took it over as good. It's more of just showing this transition that I think a lot of companies have gone through, right? Where it's like as a company gets older, the older generations, the people who started that company, die out, and it starts becoming more of an entity than anything else.
Yeah.
Just this sort of heartless entity that people can go in and out of.
Yeah.
And that's sort of, that's the whole point of this. It's a generation dying out and the new generation kind of fucking it up.
Yeah.
But the old generation didn't really do a great job at passing that torch either.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's about just these power struggles kind of destroying a family, and the company survives on without them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is like, it's more about what people think about that than the movie. That it is the thing I think that saves this movie for me is it doesn't feel like it's making a big judgment call.
No.
And I appreciate that.
Obviously it's very sympathetic towards Maurizio, which in fairness, she did murder him. So
yeah, that was good. It was good not to like shit on the guy who was murdered.
Yeah.
Because they do make him, again, they don't make him out to be great. But everybody is, as much of a melodrama it is, I think the decisions that the people are making are nuanced enough.
Yeah, they make sense.
That it works.
Yeah, and it's
like he has problems. He spends too much. He goes back and forth from wanting to be part of the company to not.
Mm-hmm.
He's indecisive.
Yeah.
And they do a good job with that stuff where it's like, he's not like, the only person who is a cartoonish depiction is the Jared Leto guy. Everybody else feels like a human being, and they don't feel necessarily bad or like no one. I would argue nobody in this movie is like depicted as evil, if that makes sense.
Patrizia is pretty close.
She sucks.
Yeah,
she's a murderer.
She fucking
but
sucks.
You know
and
what I
pays
mean
to
by
have him
that though.
killed.
Like nobody is a mustache twirling villain. Like they set up what brings her to that point. And yes,
yeah,
it is not good reasons.
No, but they're
she's
identifiable from
sympathetic.
the beginning. Yeah, like we know what she's about. All she's ever cared about was being a Gucci and being a part of that money, not even a part of that family.
But she does also like him. Like that's the thing is they do a good job at like the beginning is he leaves the family because they're like she's a gold digger, don't go for her. And so for a while they don't live in luxury and she's with him. And then she encourages him to link up with his family because yes, that's absolutely a part of her motivation from the start is she wants the money. But she does like him. Like that's clear from it, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's part of her arc is that her decision to murder him at the end doesn't gain her anything.
No.
Financially, it is just, and so she actually loses that part of her. Like if she just wanted money at that point, she'd be like, all right, I'm taking this money and I'm going, you know, she just tried to squeeze him for all he's worth. By actually trying to have him killed, they do its arc where like, she's legitimately has her feelings hurt.
Yeah.
And she's like, she just wants him dead.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's interesting because they start her as this, as a gold digger. And then by the end, she is doing things not for the money, but because she's just pissed.
Yeah. And it's a mixture of things. It's the status and the name and
that's the thing is they don't make it. Again, it's so weird. None of the other characters feel cartoony.
Mm-mm.
Like she's not just trying to get money. That's what I figured it was going to be. I assumed she's killing him because they foreshadow it that he's going to get murdered at the beginning.
Yeah.
And like anybody who knows what happened.
Yeah.
And I assumed it was going to be because of money. And then that's the biggest surprise that it's not really.
It's only
more
because of money. Yeah. It's mostly spite.
Yeah. It is interesting. It's a very interesting film.
Yeah.
It's just, it's definitely not Oscar worthy.
No, and I don't. I mean, Lady Gaga is fine, but like,
Everybody's doing fine.
Yeah, it's just, it's a
with
melodrama.
one exception.
Yeah, with one. My God, what is he doing?
You're like, I want to say it's not exaggeration. Like, if he had shown up in like a purple jumpsuit and a fucking W on him, or backwards L or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that is what he's doing. It's out of this world. It is, the best word for it is inappropriate. He is inappropriate in this film.
It is confounding.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It is so fucking weird.
I'm trying to think of other performances in this movie that are worth talking about beyond the Jared Leto of it all.
It's hard, man. Adam Driver, everybody else is, again, just doing like accents.
Yeah, pretty much.
Some are good, some are not. And like, going to the idea of Italian face or whatever, and I've talked about this a few times, it just strikes me as weird because it's not like, people can play people from different countries. You do different accents. Actors do it all the time. They have American accents and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's always weird to me when it's something like that Don Juan movie or Don John, where it's like they go so over the top and you're like, what the fuck is this? What are you doing? Everybody in this movie is just doing an Italian accent. They're supposed to be from Italy. It's fine. Jared Leto is supposed to be an Italian man who's eccentric, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And that mix just makes him, seem like a fucking weird stereotype.
Seem like a Nintendo villain.
Yeah. It's so weird. It's so troubling.
Oh shit, what is he doing?
So yeah, Adam Driver's doing good. He's very Adam Driver, but it works.
Yeah.
Is that he's awkward. His character is an awkward guy who's not at all interested, who kind of becomes, who almost like turns into a more cold-hearted businessman.
Right, he
does it really good.
He's like Michael Corleone to a degree. Yeah. Like, he's a guy that's not really interested. Like, he says up front, I'm a Gucci in name only. He wants to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
And then sort of kind of gets pressured into taking over the company because Pacino doesn't want to leave it to Jared Leto.
Right. Lady Gaga, I would say the one problem with her character is I would have liked to actually see... It's like they stressed the wrong stuff. I want to know what her background is that made that character obsess over joining this family.
That's true. We don't... We see like one scene with her. She arrives at her family's shipping company. Like her... And that's another element of the movie that I enjoyed in terms of like casting additional light on her character, is that she's not poor by any means. Like, her dad owns a shipping company, trucking, which presumably does supplying all across Italy, because they have a very lavish wedding in like an old church, and it's clearly very expensive, and it's when Adam Driver is still not welcome in the Gucci family, and there's only two people on his side of the church. So it's clear that her family has paid for all of this. So it's like, she's not coming from nothing.
Right.
But yeah, all we really get to see beyond that is she arrives and people are wolf whistling and she enjoys the attention. And then like the next scene is she meets Adam Driver at a party and is not really interested until he mentions that his name is Gucci. And then she's obsessed with him. And that's really all we get as far as her motivation. Like, we don't really know, maybe there's not even really, you can infer that maybe she thinks like the shipping thing is kind of like a stinky thing, like a stain on her reputation to have to admit that she comes from kind of like a blue collar.
But she really doesn't seem to hate it.
But she doesn't seem to hate it. The only thing we get to that degree is when she meets Adam Driver's dad, Jeremy Irons, for the first time, and he kind of like sneers at the idea that she comes from a shipping company.
Right. And so like once we get past that, I thought her character was like very complex and it was clear. But like that initial idea, like it really is like they try to paint her a little bit as a gold digger, but also not completely. She seems like she might be into him, but like you said, she only gets excited when she realizes he's a Gucci.
She's definitely
and then he
a grasper.
stalks him.
Yeah.
Yeah. and then she seems to like him. Like again, they get married and they're not rich, so she seems to be fine with that. And then she's like telling him to go. Like she's not unreasonable at first either, where she's like, your uncle wants to talk to you, and like that's not unreasonable. Even if she's like, yeah, I want the lifestyle. She clearly seems to like this person. And so like it's just a little muddled at first, I thought.
Yeah.
But she does a great job.
Yeah.
They all do a great job. Jerry Irons is doing great. Did not realize Selma Hayek was in this until she was.
Oh yeah, she's
and then
her character's a lot of fun actually.
Yeah, I like how they do it. I like how she just calls her. She's like a TV psychic, and then I like how every time I think they did that really well because she's a TV psychic that she calls, and then she slowly starts hanging out with her or going for sessions, and like her house is shitty, and she's clearly doesn't have much money. And as they keep hanging out, Selma Hayek gets richer and richer, and it felt like the implication is she is siphoning off of this woman.
In that very last scene before they finally plan his murder, where she's like bitching to Salma Hayek about how she's getting divorced, and they're doing like what is clearly a very expensive mud bath, and then Salma Hayek like casually says like, "Well, let's talk about it. Let's go on vacation to like Barbados or something, and let's talk about it." So it's like very clear that she's just siphoning money off of her.
Yeah, she's basically what she is.
Yeah.
She was using her to like.
And she's the lady that knows the two contract killers. Like she connects them and kind of orchestrates the murder for her.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really well done. For a character that can't be in the movie for very long as a way to show that progression.
Yeah.
I thought Al Pacino's doing a great job. He gets a little Al Pacino-y when they like betray him at the end. But other than that, he's very not Al Pacino-y.
Yeah. No, he plays a sweet old man, basically.
Yeah. He's probably not that sweet.
No,
but,
there's a couple of moments. There's a couple of scenes where it kind of flares up where it's like, you probably shouldn't question what I do because I built this company and who the hell are you?
Right.
But yeah.
But most of this movie, I would argue, is filler.
Yes. Yeah. It's like I said, it's a lot of the scenes are just kind of reinforcing what we already know about all these characters and the relationships they have, which it's not bad, but after when your movie's almost 3 hours long, it's like, man, we could really get to the point a little bit quicker with some of this.
I think it's like, it's why you really enjoyed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or from what I recall, you liked kind of living in it, Yeah. That was one of the things you said to me about that.
Yes.
I think part of this movie is supposed to be that, which is like you're sort of existing in the world and enjoying these characters because they're seen as like, eccentric, out of this world type of people. But like, I was never bored, but I did always feel like they were like stretching to get to the actual point. Because it could have this is like, if you wanted to, this is an hour 45. You could cut a solid hour out of this movie.
Yeah, I think so.
You really could.
Yeah, I think so.
And that is incredible. That's incredible, but that there's a movie out there that's 2 hours and 40 minutes that you could cut in a full hour from. Because that's ultimately, that's the thing is we are saying it could be a miniseries. But nothing happens to justify a miniseries either. Like, I wouldn't know what the drama of each episode would be. Because there isn't much... everything is emotional, right? Like, all the problems that they run into are purely emotional. It's just people fighting with accents.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
In the real-life story, I think there was a lot more legal battles. So you could have, and this is based on a book called House of Gucci, like a nonfiction book. So you could, if you were going to go the miniseries route, there's other areas of conflict that actually happened that you could mine for potential dramatic scenes. But this movie doesn't. It kind of glosses over a lot of the real events of this period of the Gucci company in favor of these scenes that are just actors, like you said, fighting with
It's
accents. It's very
people doing auditions. It's just like this is gonna be like used for people to do monologues later.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird. Like thinking about the movie, I was definitely in the theater for 3 hours. I can't remember 3 hours worth of plot. Okay, they get married, they fuck a lot. The family doesn't like her. She encourages him to join with the family.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Leto's not very good. He wants to start his own thing. He slowly pushes Jared Leto and Al Pacino out. He first teams up with Jared Leto to betray Al Pacino with the tax fraud. He goes to jail for a year. He uses that time to basically push Jared Leto out. Then they get a divorce. I forget why. It's just that they drift apart. He gets mad because she made him do all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He goes skiing, meets a lady. She's jealous. They have a kid. And then they get divorced. And then she's just mad at him because of the divorce. Every scene they keep cutting back to her and she's just more and more mad. He doesn't do anything more. And then she just says, I'm going to have him killed.
Yeah.
And she has him killed. And then she goes to court. It's very straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's why it was all these performances. They were worried that this movie wouldn't stand out otherwise. That it needed this over the top shit.
It needed Jared Leto in fucking corduroy velvet suits.
Right. Maybe it did because it is purely emotional. Not much actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about this couple and their rise and fall.
Yeah. More basically. Yeah. It's just its essential elements. That's really all the story is about. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Then, God damn it. This
and
fucking
then this
big
jackass
top circus performance from Jared Leto.
It's fucking ridiculous. He's not even in the film that much.
No, he's in
every time
5
he shows
scenes.
up.
Yeah.
It's just I felt like he needed to be escorted out of every scene he was in. He needed to be handcuffed and led off the set.
Yeah. Some crewman needed to tackle him and drag him out of there. Maybe he was never cast in the film. Maybe he just showed up.
Yeah, and they were
started doing that shit.
Just write him a role. It's easier that way.
Yeah, that's how you get Jared Leto to go away. So you just write him a role where he gets to wear all this goofy shit on his face and do a voice.
It really feels like, going back to this Tom Ford thing, that it does feel like it's all these actors who have their own brands, and they had to be their brands. Jared Leto had to wear makeup and do a thing. There's all those interviews where he's clearly joking about snorting whatever
marinara sauce, and it's you're gonna cut me, I'd bleeding Parmesan cheese. It's okay, man.
Where he's clearly joking, but it's now he's become a parody. It really is Tropic Thunder, where it's the method actor. Yeah, where he's becoming a parody of himself in this movie, and now everybody's gonna have to rubberneck it, and no one's not. Everybody's gonna want to see it. It's just. People are going to see this movie just to see what Jared Leto's doing, and that's a bad reason to see a movie. We should not encourage this type of behavior from Jared Leto.
We should not reward it. No.
But that's what it feels like. Is it doesn't really feel like, and I don't. Again, the Gucci. It's a rich family. Who gives a shit?
There's
these rich bastards.
Sure.
But it does feel like they're using other people's lives to just prop up their own crazy performances.
Yeah, you're going to get an element of that pretty much anytime you do a biopic or a movie that's based on true events.
Yeah,
they're not going to be as respectful for these real people. And sure, they're a fabulously wealthy family, and they all engaged in varying degrees of criminal behavior, but they were still people, and they have
right.
And they still were a family, so they have the same identifiable conflicts and issues and relationships that the rest of us can certainly relate to, at least on that level. So
right.
there should be,
it's not punching down for the most part,
Mm-mm.
except for the fact Because they do this Jared Leto performance and he's a clown and everything. And at the end, they're like, by the way, he died in poverty. And I was like, well, why the fuck did you spend the whole movie mocking him?
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's the same, mentality behind like Tiger King. Where it's
or Pain and Gain. Those were all things that felt like punching down because they're like doing these like hilarious imitations of people, and then they're like, by the way, their life is a tragedy in real and they died and they didn't get any money from this movie that we're doing, and it's like, oh, so you're just making fun of sad dead people?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Like, that's weird and grotesque.
It's pretty ghoulish in a lot of degrees. Yeah, a lot of ways rather.
And it's like, I don't want to encourage that side, that Tiger King stuff. I mean, it's always existed, you know? We've always had the Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
That aspect.
Nobody's getting killed on Jerry Springer, but it's from the same. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same mentality.
Same kind of mentality, yeah. It's just a path a little bit further down that road.
Yeah. And so it's just like, Jesus, Jared, I hope you get haunted by this guy.
Yeah.
I hope this guy haunts you.
I hope you wake up in browns and pastels.
Yeah. It's just weird. It doesn't sit easy with me.
That aspect of it, it was quite a shock to have it. I mean, not that much of a shock. Well, okay, here's what it is. There's a real whiplash in that moment because the movie's tone throughout didn't feel out of place when the finale happens and we start to get the title cards to tell us what actually happened. You know, Patrizia went to jail for decades. The Gucci company no longer has a Gucci there. It's publicly traded. It's done very well under other people. Apparently, Salma Hayek is actually married to someone who is an executive at the company that currently owns Gucci. So that's interesting.
Salma Hayek, the actress?
Yes.
Okay.
The actress, not the character she's playing.
Right.
And then they do Aldo Gucci, who's Pacino's character, died of prostate cancer in 1990. And you're like, that's not out of place or like out of tone with the movie because you feel kind of bad for him in the movie. Like he kind of gets screwed over by his family and he was, with a bit of a mean streak in him, but he was ultimately just kind of a nice old man.
Right. And he was the key word there is old too, where I would be, if the ending credits said he is alive and well, I'd be like, really?
Really? Some kind of event. The events of this film were like 38 years ago. But, it's not to learn that the character who was portrayed tragically in the film met a tragic end. That's not out of tone with the movie, is what I'm saying.
Right.
But right after that title card about Aldo, you get the one about Paolo, where it's like Paolo died in poverty in 1995. And it's like, that is whiplash because the entire movie is Jared Leto playing Paolo like this cartoonish fool.
Right. If you're going to do that to the people who deserve it.
Yeah.
Do that to the bad people in society.
Right, like he's not bad. He's just an idiot who really wants to he's an idiot who designs terrible clothes and he just wants somebody in his family to like be nice to him, like acknowledge him. And then so we have 2.5 hours of Jared Leto doing this cartoon character version of this guy, and then we learn he died penniless.
Yeah. And it's like, fuck.
It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, what were we all doing here? Why were we bullying this guy?
Why are we dunking on this poor dead fool?
Yeah. Why are we bullying the dead poor man?
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's a weird decision, and man, Jared Leto.
Yeah.
Why did they do that? Why did they do any of that?
I don't know. Yeah, because it's Ridley Scott making the movie, so you would think that he'd be able to look at a performance like that and be like, that's not really the tone I'm going for. But maybe he was just like, hey, it's Jared Leto. People are going to come see him. So he's playing a character that doesn't really matter. Like, again, I've said it 9 times now, but like the character's function in the story, he's the fool. So, like, he's kind of an inconsequential character in terms of the story of this film. So maybe he was just like, it's fine. He can play him like a cartoon. It doesn't matter. But it super does matter.
It feels like a product of, like, a Hollywood bubble where it's like, just get an actor who is that age, who looks kind of like him. That's it. No need to hire Jared Leto and then make him look like
and then
that.
Glue a bunch of horse shit to his head.
How much money did they spend to make him look like that? Like, this is why there are actors, why actors exist, is what you do is you have a casting director who then gives you a bunch of actors who look like the part, and then you pick one out. And, like, it'd be one thing if Jared Leto was like nailing it, but as we've said many, many times, he's not. He's acting like a clown. So it's like, why do this? It's so weird. I feel like I should be offended by it, but I'm not sure why. Like, it's more like intellectually offended by it, where it's like, why are we doing this? Why are we hiring a young actor to play an old man? Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, it's confounding. It's confounding.
It's confounding. It's really confounding. It's a very dumb decision. And yeah, I think I was entertained by this movie, but I think this movie is ultimately not. This is going to be like an oddity. You know what I mean? Like an artifact that we're just sort of, people are going to talk about it for the next week, and then we're going to forget it ever existed. I think personally, because it's fine, but it didn't do anything amazing. And the biggest impression it gave me was confusion.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, well, whatever, man.
Yeah, I don't know. This better not get any major acting nominations or anything.
Yeah. I don't want to hear about this movie after this. Like, again, I didn't hate it, but I'm just, yeah, I don't want people talking about this one.
No.
Yeah, I don't want it in the awards. I just want it to move.
Yeah, it's
pass
just,
us by.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know.
It's fucking fine.
It's fine. It's a perfectly fine melodrama. I enjoyed it. I was entertained, but like, it's not. Yeah. This is not a not sweeping. This is not like a big dramatic epic that is like awards material. Like like the marketing it's getting. It's not that. It's right. It's like one step above like trashy Ryan Murphy television.
Yeah, I would compare it weirdly enough to a movie I liked more, The Irishman, where that's another movie where I'm like, I don't know why it needed to be that goddamn long. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
but too long. It's if you're making an epic, make an epic. Mm-hmm. But these aren't epics. They're just long movies.
Yeah,
that didn't need to be long.
I think Scorsese is better at managing those lengths, because when he has scenes where it's just actors acting like they're having an entertaining conversation, or you know what I mean, like it produces memorable dialogue and things like that.
Oh, I like The Irishman way better.
I think.
It's also I would argue The Irishman has more of a reason to be long because it's sort of about a life.
It's about like 6 decades, you know?
Yeah, and that's long. This isn't. This is about maybe 10 years, 15 years.
Around that, yeah.
And again, that nothing in the story needs it to be extremely long.
No.
Yeah.
It's like 20 years. It's 20 years. It starts in the 70s and then he's murdered in 95. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, the point remains.
Yeah, still too long.
Yeah,
so I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could probably echo what you're saying. Maybe don't rush out to the theater to see this. Wait till it's on VOD and you can like pause it.
Yeah, you're gonna want to pause it
because it is an entertaining movie. It is a tasty melodrama. But my God, that Jared Leto performance.
Yeah, there are certain movies I feel like where they should be like, before the movie starts, they're like, okay, so you know how we say no talking on the phone or no checking your phone? That doesn't count for this one. There needs to be movies
do that a few
like
times in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a movie where it's like, I really could have done a crossword puzzle while watching this.
Yeah, like a rating that tells you how many emails you can send during it. You could probably send 2 or 3 emails during this one.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I got nothing more to say.
Nope, that's all.
Yeah.
That is the House of Gucci. You
think we're going to cover the new Resident Evil?
I don't know. I saw that today, though.
You saw it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I need to see it, but that's another one I don't want to go to the theaters for. Did you like it?
I did, yeah.
Okay, that's all I need to hear.
Yeah.
All right.
Stay tuned, maybe? I don't know if we're going to cover it. Something more...
I feel like we just did. I think
Tom. We probably just did. Yeah, that's our Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City episode.
Hey, folks. Thanks for listening. Let me tell you real quick about our Patreon. Patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed for just $5 a month. You can listen to all sorts of exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. Those are all on there. You can check it out. We also watch movies every Friday night with our patrons.
Mm-hmm.
We will not watch House of Gucci.
Probably not.
We might watch the new Resident Evil, which I'm sure will be on streaming like tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, the windows are getting shorter and shorter. Both of these movies will be on VOD in probably 4 weeks, if that.
Thank God.
So, yeah. We also have a store. Head over. Oh, fuck, I almost gave you the wrong address. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store. It has all kinds of cool original artwork and designs for our shows and also not for our shows, just like fun things. You can get that cool art on T-shirts and mugs and stickers and posters and all kinds of stuff. So check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Check it out. It's not Gucci, but it's way less expensive.
It's way less expensive.
Mm-hmm. That is a thing that I will say with confidence and certainty.
Yeah. And it's more dignified than everything Jared Leto does.
Everything we sell in that shop is more dignified than Jared Leto's performance.
Absolutely.
This cartoon bastard.
We have a shirt that's just Mitch Pileggi's face from the movie The Shocker.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more dignified.
It's it's John F. Kennedy's presidential portrait compared to Jared Leto's performance in House of Gucci.
I feel more artistically fulfilled, more proud of myself artistically having watched his performance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I'm better than him.
Yeah, it's a real... If you're struggling to break into screenwriting or movie making, or if you're just like an artist who's like unsure about like, man, maybe I'm not any good, I don't know, watch this movie and look at Jared Leto and understand that he's a millionaire actor with Academy Award nominations under his belt. It's all bullshit. It's just like...
It's all bullshit. This is all... Life is a lie.
Yeah, make art that's good for you. And then other people will follow because holy shit. I don't know what's going on with Jared Leto's performance in this movie.
It's one of the great mysteries of life.
Or why we gave him an Oscar nomination for playing Frankenstein in The Little Things.
Wait, what?
Mm-hmm. He got an Oscar nom for that movie.
I don't know what any of what you're saying is.
You remember that murder mystery movie, The Little Things, with Denzel Washington and Rami Malek, and Jared Leto was the murder suspect? And like his whole performance is he's walking around like Frankenstein. And he had a bizarre fake gut.
Did we review this movie?
I think we did.
Holy shit.
Don't worry about it. It was one of the first like theatrical Warner Brothers movies to be dropped on HBO Max. I think it was January or December or January of this year. Yeah, don't worry about it. It passed. That's the appropriate reaction to The Little Things. I have no memory of this movie.
Holy shit. Yeah, I have no memory of this movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
My point is don't question your artistic integrity or the artistic merit of anything you create because Jared Leto exists and people are telling him that's good art. So just be you, man.
Just be you. Unless you're Jared Leto listening to this, stop it.
Yeah, whatever that is, knock that off.
If you're Jared Leto listening to this, cut the shit.
Tone that shit down.
Yeah.
What is that?
Okay.
That's not a real person.
Okay, yeah.
I never for 1 second forgot that was Jared Leto underneath all that makeup.
No, it was just Jared Leto in disguise.
Yeah.
It was like, what the fuck? It was like The Master of Disguise, that movie. It was just, and now that I'm thinking about it, it is exactly the Master of Disguise. Wasn't his name in that?
Pistachio Disguisey.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
He might as well have been called Pistachio.
That's right. They're doing Italian face in that,
He's doing Italian face in that.
Oh, man.
He was better. He should have been in that movie instead of this movie.
Jared Leto's Paolo Gucci is a character from The Master of Disguise.
Yes.
That's the kind of performance he's giving.
We got there.
Yep. It came full circle. We did it.